What are the words or things that drive you?
You aren't gonna buy something every week.
No.
You probably aren't gonna buy something every month.
Right. Doing something is better than doing nothing.
I'm even taking that productivity into cooking the meals.
Right. Yeah.
It's okay, I think, to have some expectations.
Yes, and boundaries.
And boundaries.
Yes.
This thing should be mutually beneficial.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And if we keep this whole let them, nothing is ever mutually beneficial.
Correct. Yeah, I don't want to, and I'm okay right now.
I didn't even
right?
want to listen to that talk.
Right.
They lost me when they're like, who's interested in sports? I'm like,
I think
I'm here sharing inspiring stories about fearless entrepreneurial women to help encourage you to live your life unapologetically. I'm your host, Heather Blankenship. Welcome to the Unapologetically Me podcast.
On today's episode, I'm going to be talking with Miss Amberly Grant, and it is one of the most interesting conversations I've had in a long time, so make sure you stick around. Well, thanks for being here with me today. I'm excited to talk about a topic with you because I noticed it's what you're speaking on at the conference we're at, and it's something that I wholeheartedly believe in, and I think most people in the financial world, I don't know if they are scared to talk about it, they don't think about it, or because we're so driven, like the needle just keeps moving. But you're speaking on is enough enough, or when's enough? What's the exact title?
What is enough?
What is enough? And I think that's something that people really don't know the answer to when they get started, because they haven't had enough. Enough is probably not the right word. They haven't had anything yet to know what they're actually striving for. So they even when we create our vision or we create our goals, you set an arbitrary number that you've never had before to know what a life like that might mean. So talk us through that topic and how you're going to address that here at the conference.
Yeah, I think there's two ways of seeing what enough is. Especially as real estate investors and people who are comparing ourselves to other people, enough, like you said, gets moved over and over. And specifically, we're talking about a movement of a financial number. So
Correct. And especially since all of our lives are so different.
Yeah.
Think about the difference I'm from Mississippi. You live in Colorado right now. Think about the difference in like just cost of living.
Correct. Primary resident alone, right?
Yes. Not even like groceries and like childcare and things like that.
Yeah.
Or I had a guest with no children and I have 5.
Yeah.
Think about the difference in our grocery bill.
Correct.
So the enough for each of those categories is going to be a significantly different number.
Right. And enough also in pertaining to what your childhood, like what you were used to. So as someone who grew up poor, enough to me is always on the lower end. Like I'm always like, okay, if I see someone making $200,000 a year and spending $200,000, I don't even know what you could spend it on, right? Because I don't have this idea of what that life would even look like. So there's no material vision for me in regards to that. But for me, I'm like, oh, I know what 45,000 looks like. I know what 80,000 looks like. I might now I 100% know what 120,000 a year spend looks like. But enough changes for all of us throughout our life with what comes up, as in like enough when I was 22 will not sustain me enough at 36, at 45, at 55, I might start not needing as much, right? So how do you find an enough that can actually take you through all the years as well and all those changes, 5 kids, 2 kids, 3 kids, whatever it might be for your own life, yeah. So again, we normally think of it as a number. I need a number of units making a certain amount of money, and then I have enough. But in my experience, especially where I live in the financial independence, retire early world, the numbers actually mean nothing to people when they've achieved it because A, the goalpost move, or their mindset has never wrapped around the idea of what emotionally is enough, what actually makes me secure. We think it's a number, but it isn't.
Some of it's also pride, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you've been to enough conferences at this point. When you go to some of these bigger conferences, it sounds terrible, but especially the ones that are like 98% men, they have like a badge that's like, I have 300 units and I blah, 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 blah. And like, it has nothing to do with the whole reason we started investing to begin with. It's more like I don't know if it's pride or a bragging right or a whatever.
It's an identity.
It's an identity.
Correct.
It truly is.
Yep.
And then, because when I first started investing, actually when I first bought an RV park, I had no idea I was investing. I didn't know enough to know. But as I started learning to build my portfolio and getting more, knowledgeable with finance, I quickly realized I didn't want to give up what it took to get to those $100 million portfolio, having a fund or a syndication. And there's nothing wrong with if that is your goal.
Yeah.
But I knew personally, I didn't want to give up in my life what it took to get to something like that. It didn't mean that to me.
Right, and what you're talking about is maybe relationships and family.
Exactly.
Or like a part
Flexibility.
of yourself. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The ability to not have to answer to somebody, right? Those kinds of things. I don't want to do that anymore. It's the whole reason I started investing.
Yes.
And so when you decide to grow and scale in that,
Yeah.
you have to give some of those things up.
100%. Yes, exactly. And so that's actually what my talk is here at this conference is it's going into what is it that drove you to get to where you are? So for me, I can use the example of productivity. I am a super productive person. If I see an opportunity, I want to say yes to that opportunity. I want to go for it. I want to keep my schedule full. And I started reflecting on that in the past year because I've seen some other people who've been hitting their numbers. They're done. They're more than done, but they can't stop. And they can't stop in the bad way, where I started realizing they're hurting people around them, their children, their wives, their friends, and they still can't stop even though there's externalities, right? There's someone getting hurt.
Well, it's something you can be addicted to, right?
And that's
the
what it's
high
happening.
of the next deal.
Yeah.
And it's also people, when we're at conferences or we're talking to our friends who are in this, oh, what project are you working on now? What are you buying next?
Yeah.
What's next for you?
Yep.
We are in a culture for this industry that makes you feel like there always has to be something next.
Yep.
I also feel like people don't recognize that we're not always comparing apples to apples.
Yes.
Because when I first started, it's a little more clear now, but when I first started paying attention to social media, I'm like, how are these people closing on a deal every week? Well, they're flippers, they're wholesalers, they have a bunch of investors. If you buy things on your own, you aren't going to buy something every week.
No.
You probably aren't going to buy something every month.
Right.
If you buy 2 or 3 a year, you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Above
Or
and beyond.
one.
Yeah, or one, depending
Yeah.
on. Which is another relative thing, right? If I'm buying houses in Mississippi and you're buying them in Colorado,
Correct.
that is not apples to apples.
No.
And so I feel like those things aren't talked about enough.
Agreed.
And we get back to that, when is enough enough?
Yeah, and I just to riff off of your point there, which is when you come to conferences, the reason why I actually chose this specific topic for this specific conference, I had time to mull it over of what I wanted to talk about. I was given the option to choose, and I thought, when I come to places like this, it's not even just, are you doing 2 or 3 deals? It's oh, you're in single family homes? That's not, go to storage units. You're in storage units? Why aren't you in hotels? Oh, you're in hotels, why are you doing long-term rentals but not short-term rentals? It's just, there's always that needle is moving of what is the cool thing to be doing, what's the acceptable thing to be doing, what is what's next, right?
Or what's sexy.
That's
got to
exactly
be
it,
cool
yeah.
to talk about.
And for me, again, I want everyone just to step back, just take a deep breath and be well, where am I in relation to my maybe original goals? Or how do I reset new goals that actually are in alignment with where my life is today? Because I now have 2 children. I started with 0 children, with a partner that I'm now exed from. I bought my first house with him, and then we broke up. I bought him out. I bought a second place. I have a husband.
We could go down a whole lessons you learned.
Oh
during
God,
that,
yeah,
right?
yeah. We did it really well, so I actually have some really good lessons learned on that one. But
That
still,
should be an additional session.
Yeah, yeah. I tell everyone that story.
I mean, so many people that buy deals with someone they're not married to, and they're young enough that they're not married because they just don't believe in marriage.
Right.
It's just I'm like,
No.
are you sure that's
Yeah, I was that person. The answer is don't do it.
okay? But you were a version of how it worked out well, because it doesn't normally.
No, it doesn't. And it's because we put a lot of stuff in place beforehand. We had some really important conversations, and that's just who I am. Is let's have the expectations and conversations up front. So, and we were good to each other in the end, so it was great. But what I was gonna say there was. Me having 2 kids, I have a stay-at-home husband now. We support my father. Life changes and ebbs and flows, and it's very different for me. I can't do deals right now. I don't have the capacity to even do it. So I'm coming here, and they're who's going to get a deal this year? And I don't raise my hand because I'm not interested, right?
I want to.
Yeah, I don't want to, and I'm okay right now.
I didn't even
right?
want to listen to that talk.
Right.
They lost me when they're who's interested in sports? I'm I should leave.
I think, do we all read the book Lean In? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm are we in the wrong session?
Yes, exactly. Right, and so that's me too, where I'm okay, I'm actually here to impart the idea of slowing down, right? And
have you read the book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry?
No.
It's so freaking good.
Okay, is it? Yeah.
It does have a religious base.
Okay.
However, the premise of the whole book is amazing.
Okay. Yeah, I'll add it to my list.
You should. It's
yes.
great.
Okay, I'm like, okay, I'll put that down and I'll ask you afterwards so I can put it in my actual list of things to do when I find my next books.
Listen, y'all, I know today's episode is inspiring, but inspiration alone will never carry us to our ultimate goals. That's why I started the Society of Entrepreneurial Women. It's a mastermind for high-performing female investors and entrepreneurs who are living their lives unapologetically. In a world where most people don't get us, or they try to keep us confined in a small box, the Society exists to turn off the brakes and set you free. We have weekly calls covering investing, wealth building, health, relationships, family, and a whole lot more. We have small tribes to hold each other accountable to our goals. We have in-person, ladies-only retreats to disconnect and drive each other towards our dreams. And most importantly, this is a community where you can be unapologetically you. Celebrate your wins, scream your successes from the top of the rooftop, become best friends with women who get you. We're 3 years in, and I can honestly say my best friends today are all from the Society. Click the link in the show notes to learn more.
And so actually I just have a quick question. So for me, if I look back and I'm like, okay, there's something that drives me to probably never know what enough is, and it is that productivity inside of myself, right? That word really comes up for me. And
Do you mean that you like being productive and that's what causes it? Yeah.
I love it. And it turns out when I really sat on that word, I thought back to my childhood, and my parents were Scientologists.
Okay.
And in Scientology, I am not a Scientologist at the moment, or ever in the future, but the nice way to put it, so I don't get doxxed by the church. So the idea in Scientology is that you're a productive member of society. And so that is like,
Okay, but on some level, I do believe that.
100%. No, we all should be.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you shouldn't be productive. What I'm saying is that productivity drives me. It's gotten me to an incredible place, like absolutely incredible. I can support my husband, I can support my father, I can do all these things. But that productivity is actually now detracting from my life because I'm not spending enough time maybe with my family. I'm not spending enough time dating my husband. We have young kids, so like it's gonna come. But if I'm continually being driven with this idea of productivity and not maybe saying, well, what else is productive? Productive is actually just sitting and playing with my kids. Productive is like putting time and energy into them for the first 5 years because that's the most important time you're going to have and the most amount of time you'll ever have with your children. So maybe that is productivity to me. It's not doing the next deal or finding the next place or like starting the next business. It's actually just sitting still for 4 years, and I can do the outside productivity.
So is this a mindset shift on
100%.
what is productive?
Yes.
As opposed to what the world thinks is productive?
Correct. And for you, it might be a different word. So that's where my question to you. If you can think of what drives you, that may now
It's 100% productivity.
You as well,
I can even, now that you said this, I can think it through. Because even with, like, we talked about before we started filming, like, do you have a hobby right now? Like, I don't even know what that is.
Right.
I would say my hobby is currently feeding my family.
Right, yeah.
And my husband and I have gone as far as, like, because when you start learning about health and nutrition, you're like, we can't drink the water, we can't use the pans, we can't, like, you can't do anything, right? And so we make most things from scratch, whether it's as far down to, like, the tortilla shells and the bread and, like, the sauces, it's all homemade.
Yeah.
That's productivity, right? As you're saying this, I am recognizing I am even taking that productivity into cooking the meals.
Right, yeah.
And my husband and I have to have like a reality check when we do our meal planning for the week. I'm super blessed because he helps with all of this, right?
Me too. So I'm in that same boat.
And I have a stay-at-home husband, but he has to take care of the 2 babies, which are 10 months apart and like kicking his butt. And the other 3 are homeschooled, right? So you got to keep up with that. So the second I'm done working for the day, I'm coming into the kitchen to help with that stuff. And him and I have to have a reality check each time we meal plan for the week because we're like, okay, we've already picked 3 dinners that are going to take us a significant amount of time to prepare, and then we have to clean up.
Yes.
And then it's straight to bath time because we cooked things that took so long. So we have to plan a certain number of meals that we can actually do that with, or we never actually see anyone because we have spent the entire evening cooking.
Right, exactly. And that can be a great bonding exercise in the future. But right now, you have other things you need to do.
Yes.
And so so the next thing, okay, we recognize that productivity seeps into every part of your life.
Yes. It's like an addiction.
Yes. And so
I guess it's better than like cocaine, but
is it? I mean, it can be just as destructive.
Maybe.
So like, I know people who won't stop and don't have friends anymore because they can't stop, or they've screwed their friends over for a deal, or they've done something because they're chasing the money and the number that they've already achieved. And I think we can all think to people like this, including ourselves, when we haven't shown up to something that we probably should have shown up to because we were too busy or we were too exhausted from being too busy, right? So it's even the after effects of that productivity. After a conference like this, I'm gonna have like 3 or 4 days of downtime because I'm exhausted. I brought my kids, like,
you brought your kids to Vegas? Okay, let's dive into
I also
that.
brought their aunties.
Okay,
So then that's my thing, right? So
Wait,
how do you
what
start
are they doing? Because my husband and I have been walking around, and we've been, so just for reference, with the 5 kids, the 2 babies that are 10 months apart, they don't sleep. So my mom, my mom maybe twice a year keeps the babies for my husband and I to, like last year we went back to Singapore to see his family. Or we came to this conference and he came with me for this. We don't have regular childcare. And so she normally makes us take 1 baby with us. And this is the first time she hasn't. And so as we look around, I'm like, what would we do with a baby here?
A baby, they're just gonna have to tag along, especially like I don't know, how old's your youngest? You said 10 month differences.
Yeah, 1 and 2.
1 and, okay, so we brought the aunties in. I sent them a list of like kid-friendly things to do in Vegas if needed. And they're actually just been at the pool. We gave I just decided, I just came up with this idea and it's been a freaking hit. My 3-year-old has a map of the complex. We're actually just off of, I didn't want to stay here because I wanted a place with a kitchen. So I actually stayed off property. So we have a kitchen, 2 bedrooms. We're right outside of a pool, an activity center, has a bunch of stuff for kids.
So it's choosing the right location.
And that's what I say, like when it comes to productivity and stuff, what I've started to learn is that my productivity can actually go towards making my family life easier. So like food, it's like great. Making everything from scratch and like all of a sudden knowing that the world is not a safe place, right? But exactly. Where does that end so that your sanity can come back into play? Maybe that you can actually play, right? And so then maybe it is that you're just gonna like order HelloFreshes sometimes and you're gonna use the money and the things that we're working towards to maybe just push that goal back a little bit longer so that you can really enjoy right now and practice the muscle of being less productive and practice the muscle of maybe putting your productivity towards, again, something that's actually just gives you more downtime.
So I can think of one
has to happen.
One category we have had, again, 5 kids that are homeschooled is a lot. We have had to give up cleaning our house. And I don't mean like my house looks like a hoarder's house or it's like nasty. But it does not look like we're having company over or it's going to be photographed ever. We're in the middle of selling our house and we literally moved out into a short-term rental because I'm like, it's not going to happen. Like we can't prepare to sell a house with these kids. So we have actively chosen that is not an area that we can focus on right now. It is not the season for a clean house. Because not only you're constantly mad at your kids and your kids are constantly stressed because what? They left something in the floor and they're 5 years old. Like that's normal.
Yes, exactly. And again, that's like something you're like, okay, I'm noticing that maybe one of my value systems or something that I have is like order, right? Maybe that's something that drives you. You want order. You're really good with spreadsheets. You need a clean house. You need to have everything like done properly. And that order has gotten you to a really good place in your life. But if you are someone who only values order and then now you're yelling at your kids, now you're like, clean this up, or your house, you're like spending so much time trying to stage your house, then order no longer is the thing that should be driving you. You should find a different word that you can put order towards.
So this is interesting the way you're wording this, because these are things that are like, I don't know the right words to use, but like really ingrained in our being. Like they really drive you. So I don't know that most people could just be like, okay, I'm going to be different with that. So how do you talk someone through changing that? Because a lot of people can recognize I need to be spending more time with my children or I need to not stress my kids out so much. But they can't handle that there's no order. My mom is going to kill me for saying this on a podcast. But my mom needs all the dishes washed. Like she can't stand that the dishes are in the sink. Right? She can't go to sleep if those dishes are still in the sink. And with 5 kids, she didn't raise 5 kids. I have come to a point to where we can wash those dishes in the morning. We have washed enough dishes for today. It will be fine tomorrow. How does somebody shift that? Because for her at 60-something years old, her whole life has been the dishes must be washed. And I'm sure some of it even comes back to her childhood and how her parents raised her. How do you start to shift that?
Yeah. So I went and talked to specifically hospice doctors, nurses, chaplains, people who deal with people at their end of their life.
Yeah.
Because I really wanted to understand. I had a naive idea that like, we'll just change. Like, okay, productivity is really important to you. It's kind of hurting your family because you're doing too many deals. You're not paying attention. Your husband's like, hey, like I'm here, you know, and you're like, yeah, I know, but just this next one. And I thought, okay, well then someone would change. And it turns out that on your deathbed, people have massive regrets because they didn't change. And some of those regrets are they focused too much on career, which some people actually like, I really love my career. But some people don't, and maybe they focus too much on it. They missed out on being themselves. So they were trying to become what other people put on them their whole life, maybe orderly, maybe productive. And they never really defined what that was for themselves. So there's all these kind of regrets at the end of life. And I thought that people just changed, and it turns out they don't. So then I talked to a change psychologist, someone who specifically works with like high, like really ambitious individuals.
Like
and I was like,
achieving.
yeah, exactly. And I was like, okay, well, do people change? He's like,
I think
not
there's a country
really.
song about how shoes don't stretch and men don't change.
There you go. Right? We've gotten it
The
on
shoe doesn't
pop
fit now,
culture.
it's not going to fit, and neither are the people.
Right.
Yeah.
And so how do you create change? Well, a couple things happen. Big things happen in people's lives. They end up getting divorced.
Yep.
And more than likely they can point to that action that they've been told their whole time they needed to like focus on, and they'll get divorced, and then maybe they'll start changing because they're like, that's a pain point. They get cancer. They have a family member die, their mom or their dad, their spouse dies, and all of a sudden there's a big pain point, and they're like, I have to shift. I cannot live this way. So for me, what we're doing in this session actually is creating pain. So I'm going to take productivity as an example. I like to use myself as an example because I don't want to speak
You don't
to
wanna
other
pick
people
somebody
and
out. Yeah, embarrass them.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's hard. And so productivity. If I continue being so productive that I've got multiple companies, multiple businesses, continually doing real estate, my husband has told me multiple times, "Hey, Amberly, like we need to slow down," and I'm like, "Yeah, next year." And then next year comes and we have to slow down, and we're still just on edge. Maybe we're starting to fight. We don't fight it very much right now, but I can see where we can start fighting more. So we start fighting more. Our kids are watching us fight more. So then our kids are starting to feel like an unstable home because I just can't let go of the productivity. I don't think it's that bad. Then another year goes by and I'm still very productive, and my husband and I are fighting, and now he's like, you know what? I don't really want to be in a relationship with someone that I'm fighting with who's not listening to me, who's super productive in every other aspect of our life except for us. And then maybe we divorce. And I think of like right now, I'm like, oh, fuck. If my husband were to hand me divorce papers, it would be the biggest regret of my life. So how do I start to realize that this amazing trait in myself is actually leading down a road that's going to be problematic? And where do I start making that change? So today, I'm like, productivity is really important to me, but this is where I could end up. So here's where I am. So if I just make a small change today, just learn something new. And maybe that is, I say no first to opportunity, think about it, and maybe I can come back to a yes for one whole year, just like a fun challenge. Because I don't want to end up divorced. So our goal right now, we vacation a lot. We do a lot of travel. I actually plan travel for the FI community. So I say no. My friend literally just texted me, hey, girls trip in November. I literally sent her a message back, no. I said, for 2026, we were saying no to all vacations to try something new.
To vacations that aren't your family trips, or to all travel?
All travel.
Okay.
That is the line in the sand
But
for us
before
right
we
now.
say no to travel,
Yeah.
when you came in, you talked to me about traveling with kids. Mm-hmm. You seem to have a skill in this.
I do.
I feel like traveling with my kids turns into everyone's fighting.
Yeah.
They're at different age groups, so we
Yeah.
can't get them to want to do the same things.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear about your travel skills.
We'll definitely talk about that. But for us right now, we just spent an entire year traveling all the time because I actually wanted to try that on. I was like, I haven't.
That was your yes for
That
the
was
year.
my yes for the year, right?
Yeah.
And now my no for the next year, 2026, is because we did it this year. We tried something new. It actually caused a lot of stress because traveling with kids is very difficult.
Yeah.
But it was also very, very fulfilling. And so next year we're going to do a bunch of no's. And just
Okay.
try that on, right? Because even though my brain is going wild, being like, I have to say no. I have to say no to like business opportunities, conferences. It's all no's.
So how does that mix when your personal goal is to say no to travel,
Yeah.
but you are working on building your speaking career and like engagements like that?
Well, first of all, I believe that anything can happen in the future. So I'm not really all that worried that maybe in 2027, that's when I can start saying yes to opportunities again. Or there could be, because I'm saying no to so many things, there could be a really great opportunity that comes up in 2026. And I'm like, hey, I've shown you, and we have been able to relax more. This is literally what we said we would do. Again, I said I'm very like proactive in regards to communication and expectations. So I was like, if something were to come up in 2026 that's really important to me, would I be able to say yes to it? And the answer is yes. If we've been able to have time to relax, to slow down, to like just try on a new sock, right? Like just like, let's try this on. And
like we talked about earlier, it doesn't sound like you've done this before.
No.
So after 3 or 4 months of no traveling, you both may be itching to say, let's go on a trip.
That's exactly it. And then we can have that conversation from a better place. It's not a place that the momentum's just carrying us, that I have to be productive, I have to do it. We're saying yes to the trip because I'm always saying yes to the trip. It's no, I've shown restraint. I've shown a new path. I've shown something else. And maybe I'm more selective. Maybe we only do speaking engagements for 2026 just to keep up the career part, but then maybe the family vacations go away, or we combine them, or whatever it might be, right? But the fact is I'm trying on something new to make sure that I'm looking at my path and being like, let's just go here. Like, let's just try a little bit of a thing, because I don't want to end up fully productivity being my only way of going. And so again, creating that pain of like, what's that destination gonna lead you if this goes unfettered? I don't know if that's the right word, right? Where like you can't, that it goes without any constraint. Productivity only leads to possibly divorce. And what I've seen, more likely the case, right? Mm-hmm. So how do I...
Or affairs that people have to heal from.
That's exactly it, yeah.
Yes, whatever terrible rabbit hole we can think of to go down.
How is that? What's the worst case scenario here? Okay, so then anything I do is better than that.
Yes.
Right? So again, saying no and doing these things, practicing these new skills. Because at the end of life, when I'm 75 years old, I can guarantee I will not be like, that 5th deal in 2026 was the best thing that ever happened to me, and it's the only thing I really mattered. I'd be like, the deal in 2026, there was something in 2027, there was 27, like, we have many years, but we think we only have right now. And that's the thing I really had to get my mind around, was like, okay, I have young kids, it's 5 years. 5 years isn't like, in a 40-year span, it's not gonna make or break me, but it might make or break my family.
That's so true.
And so it's time to review what's driving me from my childhood that has gone unfettered, or whatever that word is, where there is no constraints, it's off the rails. And maybe I just take one little step off and see where that leads. And I can guarantee it will lead to great things.
Ladies, it's time to redefine the conference experience with the Society of Entrepreneurial Women Retreats. Step inside a world tailored for women just like you, where you can lead, learn, and unwind in style. Our retreats offer everything from insightful investing sessions to fun activities like salsa dancing, boat cruises, food tours, and so much more, ensuring you come back not just inspired, but truly refreshed. Join a community that celebrates you wholly and supports your every endeavor. Ready for a retreat that changes the game? Visit the link in our show notes and find out how you can be part of this exclusive experience.
So shifting gears a little bit,
Yeah.
When you came in, because we were just talking about people learning to be kind of unapologetically themselves.
Yeah.
They regret not being them or being somebody. You have an interesting shoe choice.
Oh, yeah. I am myself.
Yes, you are yourself. So when you walked in, you have on the, do you call them
Vibram's
toe
5
shoes?
fingers?
Yeah, I think it was 5 fingers something.
Yeah.
Toe shoes, which are not a traditional choice for shoes at a conference.
Nope.
However, we just talked about how I went to a Vegas show night before last, and I wore a dress and some sandals. But my husband, because he gets to choose too, right? Wanted to walk back, and it was like an hour-and-a-half walk, and I walked that in sandals. And so my shins are really hating me this morning for that. And choosing to wear shoes that are good for your body as opposed to what people in public think you should be wearing is one of those choices.
Yes.
Talk me through that.
Okay. I was really embarrassed when I started doing this years ago. I actually do it for my W2 work conferences too now.
Okay.
I used to wear high heels. I used to do the thing, and I would just
Dude, I see women in the airport in stilettos, and I'm like, why are you doing that to yourself? I don't understand.
Expectations.
Yeah.
Right? And expectations of ourselves too. And I do think putting a good foot forward is important, even though
there's
a
a balance too of what makes you feel good.
Correct.
Because some of it makes you feel good about yourself.
Correct.
And then other things, wearing makeup
Yes.
or fixing your hair.
Yeah.
Right? There's a balance between like looking like homeless
Correct.
and taking care of yourself and feeling good about yourself. So
Like,
how are you finding that balance?
I'm just going to say I'll never show up to the airport in pajamas, right? Like that will never
I
happen.
considered it. We had to leave at 4 a.m. for the flight here. And I'm like, can I wear this? My husband's like, no.
But they do make really nice pajamas now, so maybe, right? But like,
Mine are not that.
No.
It's like, Heather, put your clothes on.
So I guess the answer of like balancing like who you are as a person and I have to say, I can say this from like we're at a conference, we're on a podcast. The podcasts that I like the most are people who are authentic and who like just are themselves, but they're not like the mean version of themselves or like the too bubbly version, but they're just like themselves. And when it comes to footwear choices, I made a choice long ago that unless my company or you or someone else was going to pay for my physical therapy when I'm older because my back is messed up and my Achilles tendon is too short and then I rip it on a snowboard someday, then it doesn't really matter what they think about my shoe choice because I will feel very comfortable and have like great kinetic chain in my body and I don't have to worry about that in the future. And I did choose the least obnoxious.
They're black, yeah.
They're black,
Yeah.
right? They happen to have mesh on them.
There are situations in our culture that you need to look a certain way.
Correct.
I'll give you an example that really sucked.
Yeah.
My husband's roommate, before we got married, came to our wedding in gym clothes. And we're like, bro,
Yeah.
everyone's stressed up.
Right.
It's a wedding. And you have on, what are you doing?
Right,
And he's like his BFF, right?
Yeah.
Not appropriate.
Not appropriate. But also, who cares?
The photos look like crap with him.
Yeah. So then,
There's the
that's
balance.
understandable.
So
You're right,
right,
yes.
like, and I guess when you say like, oh well, if someone's gonna pay for me to do this or
Yeah.
whatever, at weddings you usually, if you're in the wedding, they like
Well, you have an expectation.
dictate your outfit. And
Correct, because you set the expectation in advance. And if someone is not meeting that expectation, then that is a conversation you can have. No problem, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, we wanted everyone to be in formal wear. It is important. We're spending thousands of dollars on photography, and we don't want someone in their Nike shorts.
But then
with a
even if you
swoosh.
think about it, why do you care if the pictures look good?
Correct. So that's
It's
I
like
want to
this
challenge
balance
that.
of like,
Yeah. Like
Who
it's
cares?
okay. They showed up to support you and the love of your family and the thing that you're creating. It's yes, maybe we
so
would
on
want
some
them to
level,
do
does
it.
this also go with like Mel Robbins' let them theory? Like if they want to wear gym clothes
I just
to your
heard about
wedding,
this.
let them.
Yes.
Whatever, just let them wear the gym clothes.
So I hadn't heard about this until like 3 weeks ago.
Have you read the book?
No, but it's
I'm
on,
like,
it's on my
I'm
list
gonna
now.
be like emailing you a
Yes.
book list.
But I heard about it.
But on
'cause-
some
yeah.
level too, I think it's okay to have. I like her let them theory because I think some people truly do need to let some things go.
Yes.
But it's also okay to have expectations of people.
100%.
Like because I expected you to show up today because you committed to and not be in pajamas, right?
Yeah.
So it's okay, I think, to have some expectations.
Yes,
The
and
theory-
boundaries.
And boundaries.
Yes.
And the theory does have boundaries, but most of it is like just let them.
Yeah.
But I do think it's okay to have some expectations.
And I think the world would be a very bad place if we did not have expectations and boundaries on people. Because again, things that are off the rails or just like get to go and do whatever they want is pretty insane, and we will not have communities, societies, and things like that without these things that make us.
Because things should be mutually beneficial,
Yes,
right? And if we
exactly.
keep this whole let them, nothing is ever mutually beneficial.
Correct.
Or
and
maybe
so-
it is. You let them, so you don't need them anymore.
But that's
Then are you just getting rid of everyone in your life?
not everyone.
The people who you don't need to let them?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Well, I guess, so I have the same wedding story, right? And I knew, so my dad wears socks and sandals. He's an artist. I don't know if I've ever gone a day in my life where I wasn't embarrassed by what my dad was wearing with like paint on it. He literally has a t-shirt that says, I do nudes, because he paints nude people, because he's an artist. And you're like, I don't want to be a teenager walking around with my father having an I do nudes t-shirt on.
Because of what that implies.
Yes, you're
Yeah.
like, you're an old man. Like no
Yes.
one wants to see this. But it's actually like a great thing. Like,
And it makes them happy.
yes. And so for my wedding, I literally told on my invitation, I said, come with whatever makes you feel comfortable. Because I knew that if I tried to pigeonhole my dad into wearing a suit and wearing shoes, first of all, I'd have to buy all that for him, which I was fine with if he wanted to do it, but I knew he didn't. And I would just sit there disappointed if I had that expectation on him that was not a good not an achievable expectation. An expectation is you want someone else to do something. A boundary is that if and when they do that thing that you don't want them to do, you are now doing something inside of yourself, or you're not allowed to actually show up at the wedding. Like your friend, if you had this expectation and your boundaries, anyone who shows up not in the right attire does not get let in. You are allowed to do that. But then you might turn away people
that are important to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so then maybe that's when you go, I'm going to let this go because this doesn't matter. I don't need to get upset about this.
Yes, it
It's
started
not
out with,
important.
bro, what are you wearing
Yeah.
from my husband? And that
Right.
was kind of it.
Exactly.
And a couple other people being like, of course, something happened to your clothes.
Yeah. Like, did you fall in a pool? Yeah. And so again, like that expectation and us being able to be ourselves and people accepting us for being ourselves, sometimes I think actually makes people rise to the occasion even more. So by you maybe being like, bro, that was weird, he might go to the next wedding and be like, well, I can do that, but maybe I'll do something different. Just because your response to him wasn't like shaming him and making him feel bad, that he now needs to like show the world how unique he is. You might be like, oh, cool, I was accepted and loved.
As I'm thinking through this scenario, as you describe things, he normally dresses really nice.
Yeah.
And so I think the decision to come to the wedding in gym clothes was more of a like, you're normally dressed nice. What happened today?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He was just flexing something. We don't know.
We don't
What's
know.
going on in his
Who
internal
knows
world.
what happened to him that day.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
exactly it, right? And so it's just that whole idea of like, let them be themselves, let them do it. And I do think most people rise to occasions. Some people show you who they are, right, in life, like in the bad way where you're like, oh, do I just get rid of everyone? And sometimes that is the answer. I've learned that in my life, that like sometimes you just have to let people go. It's really difficult. You might have a history or past, but you can do it in a loving way that like, this just no longer serves me. That you can be yourself.
Well,
but
I
yourself
think
doesn't
as you
align
grow
with me.
into what you're describing, you're going to have to do that.
You do.
Because
100%.
not everyone's going to accept this essentially new version of you.
Correct. Yeah, it creates a lot of conflict. And so again, if I look at like even those like core things that you learn as a child, I was more like people pleasing or like fixing, right? And so I realized that through my early 20s and mid 20s, most of the people I was friends with, I was trying to fix. I didn't know that consciously, but subconsciously I was trying to fix them. And I was always the person who was doing a little bit better than them. And so then what about me wanted to keep myself in this position where everyone around me was like lower in a sense, right? Like not doing as well. And I was like, oh, I have to look at myself. Like I want to be challenged. I want to have people who are like rising to new occasions. Why am I constantly with people who are having a really hard time financially, relationship, whatever? And I realized that I didn't think that I was worth the same as the other people who were above me. So it was easier just to keep small with like these people who weren't doing much than to like rise to the occasion myself. And so that's when I realized, oh, I have to get rid of these friends in like the most loving way, where this isn't where I'm going to put my time and energy. I need to go and do it to people who actually where I want to be. And so like life is just all about evolution, and enough in like our life with like money and stuff like that isn't, again, a physical number. It's a mentality shift from what you've been doing over and over and over again to get to a new place that's even better than you're going to be today.
So if we were to leave our listeners, because this is obviously not something you're going to do overnight.
No.
This is going to be a work in progress.
Years.
What is one step they could take today? Maybe it's even figuring out what that word is for them. What is one step they could take to start a process like this?
Yeah. I'm going to tell you two things because the second one is really important. One is take a minute to reflect. What in my
And like
life?
alone.
Correct. Yeah.
With you don't need your headphones on, listening to music.
Yeah.
No, there's no podcast. There's no
Yeah.
people talking. You're not scrolling. Your phone is out of the way.
Yeah.
Ideally, we're like in your backyard
Yeah.
with nothing bothering you.
Yes, exactly. Or even like just going to the coffee shop. I sometimes will put my headphones in on the like silence mode, nothing playing, but just so that like there's like some sights and sounds around me so it can spark thought, but I just kind of sit there with a notebook. And I might just like write down what comes to me, but specifically I want people to think about what are the values, and I want to use the word identity, but I think people don't understand what that means. What are the words or things that drive you? So again, when I sat down, it was productivity. I need to be productive. If I'm not productive, I'll die. Like that's how ingrained it is in me. Like I literally, my husband is like, what does that mean to you? Like, what if you were not to be productive? I'd be like, I literally was like, I would die. I was like, whoa, that's extreme, right?
Yeah.
But we all have that. Something that is just like extremely in us that we didn't choose in a sense. It just kind of came through us in our life. And I want you to think of all the things that affects. Don't say good or bad, just my productivity, my really good with my kids. I'm a great mom because I'm very productive. Like I'm great at finding deals. I'm great at this, whatever it might be. And then the second thing is I want you to take one action. And this is the part that's the most important. You can think all day long on all the things you want to think about. I don't care. Thinking does nothing in the end, because action is one of those deep regrets that people have in their life. You don't ever look back and say, man, I'm glad I didn't try. You always think like, I didn't go approach that person who I thought was beautiful and I really wanted to have a conversation, or super smart and I wanted to have a conversation with them. I regret not talking to them. I regret not saying yes and trying something new, which is why saying no is so hard for me, right? But that action in your life will bring on brand new things you could have never even thought about, and will bring you in a direction you can't even fathom. And so just taking an action, whether again that's removing things from your life or adding them, kind of based on what you're noticing.
Because everyone's not like us and things need removed.
That's exactly. Some people need things added.
Yeah,
I know many people. Yeah, who need things
people
added.
need to add something.
Yes, and what
which
I
is
need to
usually
add
action.
is more Netflix, right? Like that's what I need to add.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I can't add more Netflix because of the same problem. Because if we like start a Netflix series, I'll tell my husband, I'm like, you can pick whatever you want, but it has to be a movie.
Yeah.
It cannot be a show. Yes, I will need to watch all 27 episodes tonight.
Yes, right.
We will need to watch them all tonight, and we will not sleep.
Yeah.
So if I add more Netflix, it's like the opposite problem.
Yeah. Well, good for you for knowing yourself.
Yes,
right?
I can't add more Netflix.
Yeah, exactly. And so again, some people have to add more. It might be more action, calling more people for deals. Someone who offered to be a mentor, calling them and saying yes. Like doing something is better than doing nothing. And again, something can mean removing things. It doesn't mean actually taking action and going and doing more things. It could mean, like for me, my something when I was like, okay, productivity, oh my God, Amberly, chill out, is 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. I don't check my phone. I don't do anything. I make breakfast for the kids. That is my responsibility and my time with them when they wake up to 9 a.m. I just like hang out with them. Whatever the day takes us. Like that's just what I do for those hours. And then I can go and be productive and do the thing. But for productivity for that moment is actually doing nothing else, but just them.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having this conversation with me today. This has been great.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is really wonderful.
Remember, authenticity is your superpower. Stay unapologetically yourself, and let's continue embracing our uniqueness together. Make sure you hit that follow button so you don't miss the next episode.